Greetings and salutations, YouTube. This is Fragments of Memory, your friendly neighborhood armchair philosopher. And I am from the fair city of St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri, the Midwestern United States or the Southern United States, depending on which perspective you take. But I was on Twitter today and a gentleman tweeted that time travel is real. All a St. Louisan has to do is just move out of Missouri and go somewhere else, because Missouri is still, St. Louisans are still stuck in the 1970s. And I thought about that, and I've been in St. Louis all my life. St. Louis County, St. Louis City, etc., etc. I've never lived anywhere else but the St. Louis and the surrounding St. Louis areas. So, what do I have to say about it? In some ways, I have to agree with him. I think it takes us longer to get certain innovations here. I think that we don't get to keep, football teams. I mean, we just got a soccer team recently, and they seem to be doing well, and the XFL is back in business, and you got the Battlehawks cacaw. But I think the Missouri still has a very old mentality. Like, I think of the coasts, when you have people that come from other nations. Indian, Pakistani, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, even Bosnians. We're seeing an influx of immigration, for example. But Missouri is still kind of stuck on the black-white thing. I think in the United States, we don't really have a concept of any other nation but our own. But especially here in the Midwest, we're still very much on the black-white thing. Because between you and me, I think that the black people in the United States, the so-called ADOS, the so-called foundational black Americans, we are the American white man's burden, so to speak, or the United States white man's burden. And I don't mean it in the Rudyard Kipling sense. I mean it in the sense of there's a whole legacy of slavery and Jim Crow that no one really addressed, or if it's been addressed, it's kind of been sidestepped and brushed under the rug. We still have the black-white thing in the United States. It never really went away. So now we bring in people from other nations that aren't a part of that conversation because they, generally speaking, didn't have to deal with that part of things, i.e. the baggage someone from India may have isn't the same baggage that a United States-born black person has. And I don't mean someone from Nigeria who had Nigerian parents who was born in the United States. I mean the baggage of, for example, let me finish my sentence. The baggage of being an American descendant of slavery. In my case, there have been members of my extended family that have done family trees, and we can trace our ancestors back to plantations in the South. It's wild. But anyway, one of the things I noticed is there's this sort of disconnect between the black people that were born on the African continent and the black people here in America. And this is not what the purview of my video is. It's just that I believe the United States still has to wrestle with that and contend with that. Now, the coastal cities, like the East Coast and the West Coast, have different populations that deal with that. Now, we're recently getting more people from other nations, and I think that's good, because the black-white thing is still kind of happening here in the Midwest. I remember my wife and I and her sister, so my sister-in-law, we all took a road trip, and I remember we were going down like in the further parts, out in like further Missouri. And what I noticed was, I remember we were driving down one stretch of road and there was a big ass Confederate flag. I'm talking like you would see a big United States flag. There was a big ass Confederate flag, red with the cross, with the crossbars and the stars, right in the state of Missouri. And if you know your history about Missouri, although Missouri officially didn't really join the Confederacy, there was half of Missouri that wanted to join the Confederacy and succeed from the Union. There was half that didn't. In fact, the famous Dred Scott case happened here in St. Louis. In fact, you may hear some conscious Afrocentric brothers talking about how St. Louis is also known as Dred Scott City. This is the place. I'm walking in the place on the very same street where the court ruled that Dred Scott, the Negro, did not have any rights that the white man was obliged to respect. This happened here, right here in St. Louis, Missouri. As a matter of fact, and if you Google things like the Missouri Compromise and the Kansas-Nebraska Act, that's stuff that happened a long time ago, but it's still affecting us to this day. And I think Missouri has that legacy that's still stamped on it. Missouri has that legacy still sewing into it. And the thing is that I think the United States and, well, the Midwest as a whole doesn't really want to acknowledge their role, you know? So I can't speak for other cities, but here in Missouri, here in the gateway to the West, here, right here, we still have our baggage, our historical and cultural baggage. So in some ways, do I think we're back in the past, back in the 1970s? Sure, you bet. Or I don't know about the 70s, but we're still, there's still old mentalities that need to die but haven't died yet. People that, you know, and there are people in our government right here. The governor of Missouri. Even when you look at all the racial bullshit that's happened with the law enforcement. All that happened here. Ferguson happened here. I remember one evening being in the city and cops were straight up in riot gear like it was military time. In fact, I'm standing right in front of the courthouse. The very courthouse that Dred Scott tried to fight for his freedom and was told that the white man didn't have to respect his rights. This is right here. This is right here in good old St. Louis, Missouri. Now, don't get me wrong, I love my city. I love the city, I love the county, I'm from here. This land cultivated me. This place, this city, these areas, these municipalities have cultivated me. But there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. You know, the upside down side of the place, as I always like to talk about. You know, so for me, I think St. Louis has to get over the black-white thing. They have to address some things with black people. Because I'm noticing a lot more immigrants from Latin cultures, from Asian cultures. That good people, nice people, great people. But we still got our old school hang-ups. I'm not saying don't forget about slavery or slavery wasn't a big deal. I'm never going to say that because it was a big deal. It was so big a deal that people succeeded away from the country to get it. And there was a whole civil war where many lives were lost over it. So let's just keep it a buck. A lot of people don't want to face it because, in essence, it shatters the myth of the superhuman, pristine United States. It shatters the image of the shining city sitting on the hill that Governor Winthrop talked about in regards to the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Because even to this day, I think you have a lot of white people, no offense to white people that might see this channel, but a lot of conservative white people that still have that shining city on a hill mentality when it comes to us. Or a mentality when it comes to the United States. We're the shining city on a hill, you know. Because that's what a lot of people have, that mentality. But the reality is, you know, that shining city on a hill stuff is but myth. At best, it's a great story to tell to get you some feel-good vibes. At worst, it's utter bullshit. Yes, America is a country with freedom. Yes, America is a good nation. But it's got a dark side and it's got an underbelly that, well, if you study the history of this country and you study what was done, I don't see, like, for example, people are still hung up about the CRT thing, you know? People are still hung up about CRT when I'm in reality, look, people are opposed to it because it's going to make the white people feel bad. At least that's how it comes across. and even the terms like woke have been gentrified and been used as dog whistles. When I see a white conservative pundit use the word woke, it comes off like you're low-key slipping in the N-word. That's how I see it. You might as well be wearing a Klansman's robe or a Nazi swastika at that point, or waving the Confederate flag in the air, because that's how it comes across to me. You can't change my mind on that. End up, full stop. Well, that's my 2 cents on the matter. This is more of a ramble, so there's no real direction this is going, but this is just a ramble of just stuff on my mind right now. See you guys later. Be easy like Sunday morning. Take care.